The wind blew gently across the frozen moon. Broken rocks, ice-covered trees, and strange glowing plants covered the surface. Mason, a young human explorer, walked slowly through the icy forest. His boots crunched in the snow, and his breath came out in soft clouds. He was looking for pieces of old satellites that had crashed here years ago. His scanner beeped once, then went quiet. Nothing useful. He sighed and moved forward. He had been alone on this moon for 2 days now, and all he had found were a few broken metal plates and wires. The silence felt heavy, like the moon itself was watching him. Then he heard it, a howl. Not a machine, not wind. A long, low, sad howl. It echoed through the trees and made him stop. He turned his head, listening. It came again, closer this time. Mason's heart beat faster. Is there something alive out here? He whispered. He followed the sound carefully, stepping around sharp rocks and frozen roots. After a few minutes, he saw her. At first, he thought it was just a big animal. A large wolf, with fur as dark as space, lay on the ground. Her body was thin, like she hadn't eaten in days. Her legs trembled as she tried to stand, then gave up. Her glowing eyes stared at him, but she didn't growl or run. She just watched. Mason crouched a few steps away. Hey, it's okay. I'm not here to hurt you. He reached into his bag and pulled out a small food pack. It wasn't much, just a heat bar and a bit of water. He opened it and slowly pushed it forward. The creature sniffed the air, then dragged herself closer. She took the food gently, chewing slowly. Her tail barely moved, weak but thankful. As she ate, Mason got a closer look. Her fur wasn't normal. It shimmered like tiny stars. We're trapped inside it. Her paws left glowing marks on the snow. This was no normal wolf. Still, she looked cold, tired, and scared. Mason built a small shelter nearby. He lit a fire using his tools and placed a blanket near it. He turned to the wolf. If you want to rest, it's warm here. Surprisingly, she moved toward him, slowly. Carefully, she curled beside the fire. Her eyes stayed on him, but there was no fear in them now. Just calm. Mason smiled. That night, he couldn't sleep. He kept looking at her. She was unlike anything he'd seen before. Not just in body, but in the way she seemed to understand him. In the middle of the night, Mason felt something shift. The fire flickered, and a soft glow filled the shelter. He sat up quickly. The wolf was standing. Her body was glowing brighter. Suddenly, the light wrapped around her like a cocoon. Mason stepped back, unsure of what was happening. Then the light faded, and he saw her. She was no longer a wolf. A tall alien woman stood in the same place. Her silver blue skin shimmered. Her long, flowing hair looked like it was made of stardust. Her eyes were still the same, golden and kind. She looked at Mason and spoke. Her voice soft and deep. You fed me. You gave me warmth. You broke the curse. Mason blinked. What? Who are you? She nodded slowly. My name is Silith. I was once a guardian of the stars, betrayed by my own, cursed into the form of a beast until someone showed me kindness. I wandered the moons for years, until you found me. Mason didn't know what to say. He had helped a creature in need, but now he stood face to face with a being from legends. I don't understand, he said. Why? Me? Silith looked at him with calm eyes. Because you didn't ask for anything. You didn't run. You gave without fear. She took a step forward, then paused, as if unsure. You have my thanks, human. I will not forget what you have done. Mason nodded slowly. So, what happens now? She looked up at the sky. The stars above twinkled like they were calling her. Now, she said, we returned to the stars. The night felt different after that. Not lonely, not cold. Something had changed, not just in Silith, but in Mason too, and somewhere far across the galaxy. Old forces began to stir. The sun rose slowly over the frozen moon. Soft light touched the tops of the trees, and the snow sparkled like tiny diamonds. Mason stood outside the small shelter, staring at the place where Silith had changed. It still didn't feel real to him. Silith stepped out, now fully awake and stronger than before. Her silver-blue skin shimmered in the light, and her long hair floated gently behind her. Her body no longer looked tired or weak. She moved like someone with purpose. Mason turned toward her. So, what do we do now? Scylla looked around, then pointed toward a ridge covered in thick ice. My ship is here, deep beneath the moon's surface, hidden from those who would try to find. Mason raised an eyebrow. Your ship? You mean you buried it? Not buried, she said. Sealed. It listens only to me. I did not want anyone else to reach it while I was trapped. They packed what little gear Mason had. Scylla led him through the frozen trees and across icy hills. As they walked, she told him pieces of her past. She had once been part of a powerful order, protectors of peaceful worlds, but jealous voices had whispered lies. They said she had grown too strong. They feared her. So they turned on you? Mason asked. Scylla nodded. They forced me into the form of a beast. Only a kind soul could help me return. They reached the ridge. Thick sheets of ice covered the ground. Scylla stepped forward and held out her hand. Her eyes glowed softly. Ancient symbols lit up beneath the ice, forming a wide circle. Mason watched in awe as the ice cracked with a deep, low sound. Light burst from the ground, and the ice broke apart. Something huge began to rise, metal, smooth and silver, shaped like a giant bird. The ship rose slowly from the ground, glowing with blue light. This is my ship, Scylla said quietly. The star hole. The ramp opened, and warm air rushed out. Scylla stepped aboard first, then turned to Mason. Will you come with me? He hesitated for only a second. Then he nodded. Yeah, I'm in. Inside, the ship was strange but beautiful. The walls glowed with soft lights. The control panels were smooth, with no buttons, just glowing symbols. Scylla placed her hand on a panel, and the ship responded with a gentle hum. It still remembers me, she whispered. The ship rose into the sky. Mason looked out the window as the moon grew smaller below. He felt like he had stepped into a dream. Scylla moved to the pilot's seat. We're going to the nearest star station. I need to repair the ship fully, and my need to know what has changed while I was gone. Mason sat beside her. You've been missing a long time, hundreds of cycles, she said. I don't know who still remembers me or who wants me gone. As they traveled through space, Mason learned more about Scylla. She was skilled, smart, and quiet, but he could see something else in her eyes, a sadness she tried to hide. He tried to make her smile with jokes and questions about her world. Sometimes it worked, sometimes she stayed silent. They arrived at a small hidden station in the rings of a dead planet. Scylla docked the ship quietly and led Mason through the old corridors. Everything was covered in dust. The lights flickered. I built this place, she said. Long ago, it was a safe place when I needed rest. They started repairs on the ship. Scylla worked with grace, like every movement was part of a dance. Mason helped where he could, handing her tools and running scans. He didn't understand her technology, but he learned fast. On the second night, as they sat near the ship's engine core, Mason asked, why did they fear you so much? Scylla didn't answer right away. She stared at the glowing core. Because I was different. She finally said, I fought harder. I protected the weak. But I refused to follow orders that were wrong. And they hated that. Mason nodded. Sounds familiar. Even on Earth, people fear those who don't obey. She looked at him, a small smile on her lips. You're strange, human, but in a good way. Mason grinned. Thanks, Space Wolf. She chuckled softly. It was the first time he'd heard her laugh. Just then, a warning flashed across the ship's screen. Scylla stood quickly. What is it? Mason asked. She narrowed her eyes. Someone's following us. A ship, unknown origin. Do they know who you are? Maybe. Or maybe they're just curious. Mason stood beside her. What do we do? Scylla's eyes glowed once more. We prepare. I may have been cursed once, but I'm not helpless anymore. Mason nodded, feeling a strange mix of worry and excitement. He had started this journey looking for metal parts. Now, he was standing beside a powerful alien huntress in a ship from legend, ready to face whatever came next. The Starhowl's engines hummed softly as it drifted near the edge of the asteroid belt. Mason stood by the large window, watching the dark shapes of space rocks pass by. Scylla sat at the control panel, her eyes sharp and alert. The warning had not stopped. The unknown ship was getting closer. How long until they arrive? Mason asked, his voice steady but tense. Minutes, Scylla replied. They know I am here, and they do not want me free. Mason felt his heart beat faster. He had never been in a real space battle, but now, standing beside Scylla, he felt both fear and a strange excitement. What do they want? Mason asked. To capture me, Scylla said, or worse. My past enemies do not forgive. The Starhowl's screens blinked red. Suddenly, a ship appeared out of the darkness, a large, black vessel with sharp angles and glowing red lights. It moved fast, cutting through the asteroids like a hunting bird. They are here, Scylla said quietly. She touched the controls. The ship's weapons came alive, shining beams of blue energy, charged on each side. Ready? She asked. Mason nodded. Let's do this. The enemy ship fired first, sending bolts of red light toward the Starhowl. Scylla moved the ship quickly, dodging the attacks with skill. They know my moves, she muttered. Mason watched as Scylla's hands flew over the controls. She pressed buttons, and the ship released small drones that zipped out, chasing the enemy's missiles and destroying them. Impressive, Mason said. Scylla smiled for a moment. This is only the beginning. The Starhowl fired back, blue beams striking the enemy's shields. Cracks appeared on the dark hull. The enemy responded with a barrage of missiles. Mason grabbed a control panel and helped direct the drones. They're fast, but not smart, he said. We can outthink them. As the battle grew fierce, Scylla used a special ability. She reached out with her mind, sending a pulse of energy into the ship. The Starhowl glowed brighter, and its weapons fired stronger beams, cutting deeper into the enemy ship. That's your power? Mason asked, amazed. Yes, Scylla said. I can connect with the ship and the stars. It helps me fight. The enemy ship started to retreat, but before it could escape, the Starhowl launched a final wave of energy that disabled its engines. It drifted helpless through space. We won, Mason said. Breathing hard, Scylla nodded, but her eyes were serious. This was only a scout. The real threat is coming. Mason sat down, feeling the weight of the battle. Why do they hate you so much? Scylla looked out the window. Because I stopped their plans once. They want revenge. Mason put a hand on her arm. You're not alone anymore. She smiled softly. You are my strength now, human. The days after the battle were quiet. Mason and Scylla worked together to repair the Starhowl. Mason learned to use some of the controls, and Scylla taught him about the stars and ancient guardians. One night, as they rested, Mason asked, what happens if they catch you? Scylla's eyes darkened. Then everything I fought for will be lost. Mason looked at her. We won't let that happen. Scylla nodded. With you by my side, I have hope. They shared a quiet moment, watching the distant stars. Suddenly, an alarm blared through the ship. More ships, Scylla said, rising quickly. They are coming. We must prepare. Mason stood beside her, ready to face the next challenge. The battle for Scylla's freedom had only just begun. The Starhowl trembled as the enemy fleet closed in. Red lights flashed on the control panels, and alarms echoed through the ship's halls. Mason stood beside Scylla in the command room, feeling the weight of what was coming. The quiet moments were over. How many ships? Mason asked, gripping the edge of the console. At least 5, Scylla replied, her voice calm but sharp. They want to take me back alive or dead. Mason swallowed hard. 5 ships meant danger, but he trusted Scylla's skill. What's our plan? Scylla's golden eyes scanned the displays. We'll use the asteroid belt. It's tight, but it can slow them down. The Starhowl can move faster there. Sounds risky. It is, but better than open space. She moved to the pilot's seat, fingers dancing over the controls. Mason followed her lead. Ready to assist, the Starhowl dove into the thick belt of asteroids. Huge rocks floated in every direction, moving slowly but unpredictably. The enemy ships tried to follow, but had to slow down, careful not to crash. This gives us the advantage, Scylla said. They fired warning shots. Blue energy beams lighting up the day had come for Noah and Kelly to lead the biggest joint mission. Yet, it was a test not only of their skills but of the trust between humans and Shari. Soldiers from both sides gathered, ready to show what unity could achieve. Before the mission, Noah stood beside Kelia. We've come a long way, he said quietly. Kelia nodded, and together, we will go farther. The mission was to patrol a danger zone where enemy scouts had been spotted. The goal was to find and stop any threats before they could cause harm. As they moved through the rocky landscape, Noah and Kelia worked seamlessly. Noah's calm planning and Kelia's sharp instincts kept the team safe. Their mixed group faced challenges, rough weather, tricky terrain, and unexpected attacks, but their teamwork never faltered. During a sudden storm, visibility dropped. Kelia guided the team to shelter while Noah checked communication lines. They waited, listening to the howling wind outside. This is where trust matters most, Kelia said. Looking at Noah, I trust you, he replied. When the storm cleared, they found signs of enemy scouts nearby. Noah sent a quiet message to headquarters while Kelia prepared the team for a possible fight. But instead of violence, they found a small group lost and frightened. Noah approached carefully. We're here to help, he said. Kelia stepped forward. You don't have to be enemies. The scouts lowered their weapons, surprised by the kindness. Noah and Kelia helped guide them back to safety, showing that peace was possible even in danger. Back at camp, the success of the mission was celebrated. Noah and Kelia were praised for their leadership and courage. Kelia looked at Noah with a soft smile. You've changed my world, he smiled back. And you've changed mine. Later, as stars filled the sky, they stood side by side. Kelia handed Noah a small token, a symbol of Shari respect and friendship. For you, she said. For all you've done. Noah accepted it with pride. Thank you, Kelia, for trusting me. They looked at the night sky, knowing their journey was just beginning. Two worlds, once apart, now joined by hope, respect, and the promise of peace. Darkness. The enemy returned fire, but their weapons often hit asteroids instead of the star hole. Mason took control of the defense drones, sending them out to attack the enemy ship's engines. Small explosions lit up the blackness as the drones struck their targets. Good work, Scylla said. Smiling at Mason. The battle became a dance of speed and strategy. Scylla used her power to link with the ship, moving it with incredible grace. Through the rocks, she sent pulses of energy to disable enemy weapons. Mason called out warnings and aimed the drones. He had never imagined fighting in space, but now he felt alive. Then, one of the enemy ships fired a missile directly at the star hole. The missile was fast and smart, weaving between rocks. Incoming. Mason shouted. Sci-Fi reacted quickly, boosting the ship's shields. The missile exploded against the energy barrier, shaking the ship but leaving it safe. Close call, Mason said, wiping sweat from his brow. Sci-Fi nodded, her expression serious. They will try harder. The fight went on for hours. The enemy lost one ship to the Starhowl's beams, and another was damaged by drones. But the other three kept coming. Finally, the Starhole reached a narrow tunnel between two massive asteroids. Scylla aimed the ship toward the entrance. We can't lose them here, she said. This tunnel is dangerous. One wrong move, and all ships will crash. The enemy hesitated, then followed. Inside the tunnel, the rocks pressed close. The ship's engines roared as Scylla pushed the Starhole to its limits. Rocks scraped the hull, sparks flew, but the ship held steady. Mason held tight to a rail, his eyes wide. Trust me, Scylla said calmly. The enemy ships struggled to keep up. One crashed into the tunnel wall and exploded. Another was trapped behind falling rocks. Only one enemy ship remained, faster and more agile. It aimed a powerful beam at the star hole. Scylla raised the shields, but the beam cut through, hitting the ship's wing. Damage, Mason shouted. Sci-Fi gritted her teeth. We must end this now, She reached out with her mind, sending a burst of energy into the ship. The Starhawk's weapons charged fully. Fire, she said. Blue beams shot out, striking the enemy ship's engines. Flames exploded, and the ship drifted lifeless. The tunnel shook as the last enemy ship fell. Mason let out a breath he didn't know he was holding. We did it, he said. Scythe looked at him, eyes softening. Yes, together. They floated out of the tunnel and into open space. The stars seemed brighter, as if cheering their victory. Mason smiled. So, what now? Scythe smiled back. Now, we prepare. The war is not over, but we are stronger. She stood and walked to the ship's observation window. There are others who need help. Worlds lost in darkness. Mason joined her, feeling hope. Then let's find them. The Starhole turned toward the stars, ready to face whatever lay ahead. The Starhole glided silently through deep space, far from any known star system. Mason stood beside Scythe in the observation room, watching the endless black dotted with distant stars. Their last battle was behind them, but the future felt heavy. What's our next move? Mason asked quietly. Scythe turned, her silver blue skin glowing softly in the dim light. There is a world nearby, a moon called Velara. It is forgotten by most, but many lives depend on its safety. Why Velara? Because it is a crossroads for travelers. Pirates have been attacking ships there. If we do not help, innocent lives will be lost. Mason nodded. Then we can't wait. They set a course for Velara, the Starhole speeding through space. As they approached, the moon looked peaceful, a blue-green world with swirling clouds and shining oceans. But Scythe's sensors showed danger. Pirates, she said. Small, fast ships hiding in the asteroid belt nearby. They flew closer, watching from the shadows. Mason felt a mix of fear and determination. What do we do? He asked. We fight, but carefully. We protect, not destroy. Scythe prepared the ship's systems. She handed Mason a small device, a control pad for the defense drones. This is your part, she said. We need every advantage. The pirates struck at night, firing lasers at cargo ships leaving Velara's space station. Scythe and Mason waited until the moment was right. Then they launched. The Starhouse drones sped into the asteroid belt, weaving between rocks. Mason guided them, sending them toward the pirate ships. The pirates were surprised. They had never seen such a defense. The drones disabled engines and weapons, forcing pirates to retreat. Scythe flew the Starhole into the middle of the fight. Her power grew stronger as she connected with the ship and the stars. She fired beams of energy that shattered pirate shields. The Starhole moved like a ghost, dodging attacks and striking with precision. Mason watched, amazed. You're incredible. Scythe smiled briefly. I am more than my curse. I am a huntress. The battle lasted hours. One by one, the pirates fell back or surrendered. The space around Velara grew safer. After the fight, Scythe contacted the moon's leaders. They thanked her and Mason, calling them heroes. This is only the beginning, Scythe said. There are many who need help. Mason looked at her. Do you think we can really change things? Scythe nodded firmly, with courage and trust. Yes. That night, as the Starhole rested in Velara's orbit, Mason and Scythe shared stories of their worlds. Mason told her about Earth, the blue planet where he was born. Scythe shared memories of her home among the stars, of ancient forests and shining cities. They laughed and dreamed together, finding strength in each other's company. Then, a sudden alert flashed on the screen. What now? Mason asked, standing. Scythe single quotes s. Eyes narrowed. An old enemy. They have found us again. The Starhawk's engines roared as they prepared to face the next challenge. Mason clenched his fists. Whatever comes, we face it together. Scythe smiled, her golden eyes shining bright. Yes, together. The Starhole moved swiftly through the dark reaches of space. Mason stood beside Scythe in the control room, watching the stars blur past. An uneasy silence filled the ship. They're coming, Scythe said softly, eyes focused on the scanners. Who? Mason asked, gripping the rail. The ones who cursed me. My old enemies. They want to end this. Mason nodded. He had seen their ships before dark, sharp, and deadly. Now, they were closer than ever. What's the plan? Mason asked. Sci-Lith single quotes S eyes glowed faintly. We prepare. This fight will decide many things. The Starhouse crew was small, just Mason and Scylla, but their courage was strong. They checked the ship's weapons and shields. Scylla connected deeply with the ship's systems, feeling its power grow. You're ready? Mason asked. Scyllith smiled. As ready as I will ever be. The enemy fleet appeared, a dozen ships moving fast and quiet like hunters. They want me back, Scylla said, to erase what I have become. The Starhole moved into battle formation. Mason controlled the defense drones, sending them out like swarms of glowing insects. The enemy fired first. Red beams cut through space, striking the Starhouse shields. The ship shook but held strong. Drones, intercept, Mason shouted. The drones zipped forward, exploding near enemy missiles and engines. One enemy ship faltered, smoke trailing from its side. Scyllith reached out with her mind, sending pulses of energy that made the Starhouse weapons stronger. Beams of blue light shot out, cutting through enemy defenses. The battle raged, laser fire, explosions, and the hum of engines filled space. Mason worked quickly, guiding drones and helping Scylla avoid attacks. He saw her face change, fierce, determined, powerful. You fight like a true huntress, he said. She smiled briefly. I fight for freedom. An enemy ship broke through the defenses and aimed a powerful beam at the Starhouse core. Shields down, Mason yelled. Scyllith took control, moving the ship fast. Sparks flew as the beam grazed the hull. Hold on, she warned. The Starhole twisted and dove through an asteroid field, hiding among giant rocks. The enemy ship tried to follow, but crashed into a large asteroid with a terrible explosion. Good move, Mason said, breathing hard. Thank you, Scylla replied. But this fight is not over. They used the asteroid field to their advantage, launching surprise attacks and striking enemy ships where they were weak. Slowly, the enemy fleet began to retreat. One by one, their ships escaped or were disabled. Finally, only the enemy leader's ship remained. It was bigger and stronger, glowing with dark energy. This ends now, Scylla said, standing tall. She reached out with all her power, sending a wave of energy through the Starhole. The ship glowed like a star reborn. Fire all weapons, she commanded. Blue beams hit the enemy leader's ship, cracking its shields and hull. The ship exploded in a brilliant light. Silence fell. Mason looked at Scylla. We did it, she smiled softly. We are free. They drifted through space, tired but victorious. The stars seemed brighter, welcoming them. What now? Mason asked. Now, Scylla said, we build. We protect those who cannot protect themselves. Mason smiled. Sounds like a good plan. They stood side by side, ready for whatever the galaxy would bring. The Starhole floated gently near a quiet star system. Mason stood beside Scylla in the observation room, watching colorful nebula clouds swirl in the distance. The battles were over, but a new journey was beginning. We fought hard, Mason said softly, and won. Scylla nodded, her golden eyes warm. Yes, but winning is only part of the story. She turned to Mason. I am no longer just a hunted exile. Now, I am a guardian. And you, me, Mason smiled. Yes, you helped me believe again. You showed me kindness when no one else would. Now, we stand together. Mason felt a deep pride. He never imagined his simple choice to help a lost creature would lead to this. What comes next? He asked. We protect, Scylla said. There are worlds in darkness, people who suffer. Our strength is their hope. The Starhouse communication systems beeped. A message appeared to call for help from a distant planet, caught in war and fear. Let's go, Scylla said, her voice steady. Mason moved to the pilot's seat, ready. As the ship jumped to light speed, Mason looked at Scylla. You changed so much, she smiled softly. And you helped me change. Together, we can face anything. The journey was long, but their spirits were strong. They talked about Earth and the stars, learning from each other. Soon, they arrive at the troubled planet. Its skies were dark with smoke, and its cities scarred by battle. We must be careful, Silith warned. This is not a fight of weapons. Only, it is a fight for hearts. They landed quietly and met the planet's leaders. Silith spoke with wisdom and calm, offering help and peace. Mason worked with the people, helping rebuild and heal. He saw hope growing in their eyes. Together, Silith and Mason united many worlds, creating a network of peace and protection. One night, under a sky full of stars, Silith looked at Mason and said, "You are my anchor in this vast universe." Mason took her hand gently, "And you are my light." They stood together, knowing that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them side by side. The cosmic wolf was no longer alone. She was a huntress, a guardian, and a friend, and with a human by her side, the stars shone brighter than ever before.